A very good evening to you, our viewers. Welcome to it. This is the Camnet main news. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The top stories on our desk this evening: MULUNGUSHI University students ask President Hakainde Hichilema to finance their education using his salary. BOWMAN LUSAMBO demands a refund from ZAMTEL for renovating its house. 24 vehicles forfeited to the state as owners abandon them. In international news, Angola voters despondent in run-up to the general election. And in sports, the private sector held for supporting sports in Zambia.
Our dear Camnet family, on the 22nd of August at 20:30 hours, I'm hosting Honorable Gary Nkombo, the Minister of Local Government.
The agenda is not an overnight sensation. It has never been. And we are just praying that the Zambian people are going to hold our hands to find solutions together rather than by our own selves. And part of what requires to happen is for people to be patient.
Join me on national matters. Should you have a question to ask in advance, forward it to 0962 965 883. I am your host, Kasa Chiluba. God bless Zambia.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
The First League season is here. It brings new teams and players on the scene. Among the new entrants on the block are the amazing Born for Greatness, Camnet Stars Football Club. Camnet Stars will this Sunday, 28th August 2022, face the Super Eagles at Margaret Monakatwe Ground in Bauleni. Time 15 hours. Remember, this Sunday, make it a point to come, watch and support Camnet Stars Football Club, the champions of today and tomorrow. Camnet Stars, popularly known as the local national team, a team born for greatness. See you there.
Thank you for choosing us. The news in detail. A 33-year-old man identified as Kizito Muyangano of Lusaka's Chonga compound has been found dead in Chonga stream after having been missing for more than 3 days. The body of the man was identified by children who were playing near the stream when they noticed a human body part, while the rest of the body was buried under the waste in the stream. And a resident, Omega Muvanga, has lamented that deaths in the said stream have become rampant and has called on government to consider connecting the stream to the main drainage to allow the smooth flow of water.
So, before I got print, I got food shape. Once I cover there, food is I'm building no chunga. Can't to all of them, you're wishing the shaban. Baby, Abakulu, number to Kasanga, so therefore I got print, I got food is to a papa, the bank as a shabo. Uchunga, Kuchunga to Chula, come on, so bad to Tana. So therefore I got a good if you never to Etavia.
Never find it like Bombay. Bombay,
Youths in many Zambian communities have continued spending their time on unproductive vices such as beer drinking during daytime, as opposed to contributing positively to the country's development, despite making up over 50% of the country's population. Camnet News caught up with some youths of Lusaka West who by midday were highly intoxicated, alleging that no sensitization meetings are held in their community to warn them of the negative effects of the vice. The youths have also expressed ignorance on how to form cooperatives under the Constituency Development Fund, stating that they have no information on this initiative. Details in this report.
Over half of Zambia's population is made up of youths, according to the United Nations Population Fund, meaning that the success and development of the country is highly dependent on this population. Many youths in the country have, however, been engaging in vices such as drug and alcohol abuse, hence lessening their productivity. According to the World Health Organization (WHO), 76% of men, 33% of women, and 43% of people below the age of 18 consume alcohol in excess in Zambia, putting them in danger of various complications, among them colon cancer and liver disease. Camnet News caught up with some youths of Lusaka West who by noon were highly intoxicated with alcohol and not engaging in productive activities. In an interview, the youth said they are ignorant of the negative effects of alcohol, as no community sensitization on this is conducted in their community. They have also expressed ignorance on what the Constituency Development Fund (CDF) is, adding that information on forming cooperatives under this initiative has not reached them.
SDF stizi wakapenza chani kaya.
Yes.
Niwafunishe kupunzirako sitako bija yapunza kupunza kwa punza kushimwididi.
Nikwapasa konjito baziba na moyo senze samea memkambapo. CDF yes.
As in like visa kungenesa ko bantu mashani mu maud visa baenda bapunzisa kwa trist. But this is sikutitima mwa daily so.
Meanwhile, in a recent interview with Camnet News, Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts Elvis Nkandu says the decentralization of the ministry is underway to ensure that more youths are reached.
I don't know, because CDF is decentralized to some extent. That's why there is, I think, the queue for people to get these loans from wherever they are. Now, we haven't yet decentralized, I think, these empowerment programs under the Ministry of Youth. So maybe it could also be a reason why there's a lot of enthusiasm by our young people to get from the CDF.
It remains clear that more sensitization on the negative effects of alcohol, as well as on various empowerment programs in the country, remains to be done as one way of addressing the existing problem. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Voltex Electrical Company Limited employees working at a multi-million-dollar 800-bed capacity King Salman bin Abdulaziz Specialist Hospital for Women and Children in Lusaka have complained of non-payment of their salaries for the past 4 months. Reese Walia tells Camnet News that life has become unbearable as they fail to make ends meet. He feels the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has not been giving the matter the much-needed attention. However, Ministry of Labour and Social Security Assistant Labour Commissioner Special Duties Chola Kabaso assured to make a follow-up on the matter and give guidance on the way forward. Patrick Sonko filed this report.
They say good conditions of service correspond to cultivating a cadre of high-productive workers to drive the wheels of the company and take it to greater heights. However, in Zambia, some companies have not paid attention to issues affecting workers. A week cannot go without recording any labor injustice in the country, and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security bears this testimony owing to a number of labor disputes that have been brought before it by the workers from various sectors of the economy. Monday, 22nd August 2022, we caught up with Voltex Electrical Company Limited employees working at the multi-million-dollar 800-bed capacity King Salman bin Abdulaziz Specialist Hospital for Women and Children in Lusaka. Speaking on behalf of the workers, Reese Walia tells Camnet TV News that they have not been paid their salaries for the past 4 months.
We are working for Voltex, which is a subcontractor at the King Salmani Abdulaziz Specialized Hospital for Women and Children. It's along Kasama Road to become Zambia's third biggest hospital. We've been working now 4 months minus being paid our salaries. We've been here several times at the Labour office. We haven't been assisted. This is our 4th time coming here. We are always being referred. The people have been to our workplace, but nothing seems to be changing. We are still unpaid.
But it takudi for barishita preference na bakana kupera fawe. Watu wachitali kwesa watupere fawe. So shishi benango ifinga shitika kozi. Tulofuma kumaya ndati nao tetu bombe badi tabali tupera masalaries and then kwisa kuleba tapada for barishita preference.
They feel the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has not attached agency to their issue.
They went to the office on a payment plan. The payment plan, they said, Valina Yokuleba, they're supposed to start paying, but nothing up to date. The first question, have you done a follow-up? No, that's not our issue. It's our issue. This is the issue for administration at the labor office. So now if they are saying they cannot do that, who's going to help us or follow the situation up?
Been coming here, they are not like taking it seriously, that serious, because this thing, we are owing our landlords, and those people can't always be giving them explanations like we will pay you around this time. We give them date, the dates which they are giving us, they are not fulfilling that date, but them, they want their money. We also want our money because we've worked for that money, so we deserve to be paid as per labor law, the way it states that we are all due, like we have to be paid what we have worked for, so we really need help.
The workers also complained that on the payslip, NAPSA contributions without remitting. However, Ministry of Labour and Social Security Assistant Labour Commissioner, Special Duties, Chola Kabaso, assured that the matter will be addressed and that a press statement will be issued. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Some first-year students at MULUNGUSHI University who were left out of the Students' Loans and Scholarship Scheme have called on President Hakainde Hichilema to fulfill his campaign promise of providing scholarships to all students. The students on Monday morning protested at the Ministry of Education offices in Lusaka feel the current administration is not living up to its promise and that President Hichilema will use his salary to pay for their school fees. The students found at the scene have also proposed that government should consider including higher education scholarships in the Constituency Development Fund. The Ministry of Education, July 2022, announced that out of 3,551 applicants, only 1,087 were allocated bursaries.
Help us, we are your children, please. This is the main reason why we voted for you. Please, Mr. President.
The hope of attaining a higher education for these first-year MULUNGUSHI University students is almost shutting after being left out on the student and loan scholarship under the Ministry of Education. According to a statement issued by the ministry, out of 3,551 applicants, 3,445 were deemed eligible, but that only 1,087 were selected, with 700 having been picked from rural areas. The students now want the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema to find a way of helping them attain a higher education in accordance with the promise he made prior to the 2021 general elections.
On Monday we're supposed to be in school. Next week Monday we're supposed to be in school. And if we are late, we're going to pay another fees, which is going to make us, where are we going to find the loans? Please consider us, Mr. President. We also appeal to the Vice President. Please do something for the loans. We cry to you, President, please. May you consider us. We are crying to you, please.
I believe the president understands us because he was also sponsored through a bursary. So we are appealing to him to please help us out in this. He also mentioned something like selling the presidential jet to sponsoring the students. We know, yes, we know the ZAF says you cannot sell the presidential jet, but at least the president has gone months without being paid his salary and allowances. So we are appealing, if at all the government does not have fund, let the president use his allowances and salary on us, the students.
We also plead for others who are far. They can't even afford to come here for the transport, but at least we've tried our best to come here.
Others have also bemoaned the criteria used in allocating bursaries, where 700 out of 1,087 were from rural areas, with only 300 being selected from urban areas. The students feel the move will disadvantage those coming from compounds such as Misisi, Chibolia, John Leng, among others.
When you talk of Mrs. Karikiriki, those places there, you can't consider people there to be in urban area or being rich. They are not able to support themselves at the university. That's the reason why we are applied for the loans. We are not able to support ourselves. So our appeal to the government of His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, we are appealing as they are amending the CDF guidelines at Parliament. They should include higher institutions at university level so that students at universities can be getting sponsorship from the CDFs to the CDF funds.
Meanwhile, the students have accused the Ministry of Education Permanent Secretary for Technical Services, Joe Kamoko, of labeling them cadres when they tried to engage him over the matter.
Permanent Secretary for Technical Services here at the Ministry of Education, when we approached him, we mentioned to say, why are we bringing in PF manners here at the Ministry of Education? But our point of view is for us to be helped. He mentioned to say, if at all we waited for 10 years to remove PF in power, we have to also wait to be given student votes. Honestly speaking, we are non-partisan. We do not belong to any political party.
And efforts to get a comment from the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Muneko, by broadcast time proved futile as her phone went unanswered. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Touching story there. In other news, Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Thabo Kawana has assured that all those who will be found guilty of illegally allocating land will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Mr. Kawana notes that lawbreakers should not be left to scot-free while victims are made to suffer twice by losing their money. The director's spokesperson has also hinted that the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, is currently in Chingola district assessing the victims' levels of vulnerability and identifying possible places to relocate those who may need temporary places to squat. Meanwhile, the Civic Forum on Housing and Habitat says government needs to put up strong measures that will deter people from illegally allocating land. Details in this.
The demolition of over 300 houses believed to have been built on the aviation land in Chingola district on the Copper Belt has continued to attract mixed reactions from different stakeholders. The Civic Forum for Housing and Habitat Executive Director Grace Mtonga says our organization is disappointed that while Zambia has over 2.8 million housing deficit, houses are being demolished simply because laws in Zambia are porous and anyone can break them.
Is to see that punitive measures are being taken as reactive measures. What is needed to be done is to look at it from what are the causes of such kinds of illegalities. The political cadres were actually filling in a vacuum that was vacant. So this vacuum that was created by the system, the cadres took advantage of it. They began to allocate illegal land to citizens because the system was weak. Again, it's also the process of one being able to acquire land. And because previously everything was done illegally, then eventually it becomes legal, it became some form of a norm.
Meanwhile, Zambia Land Alliance says inasmuch as it does not support illegalities, it has sent its members on the Copper Belt to assess the authenticity of the land documents that were given to the affected families and says if the local authority will be found wanting, the affected families should be compensated.
We stand with the people of Chingola. Right now, as I speak, our officers are going on the ground to establish the authenticity of the papers that are actually in people's hands. And then if it is established that they were really given legitimate papers, they need to claim compensation for the loss that they've suffered.
And Ministry of Information Director spokesperson Thabo Kawana has explained that the land in question did not belong to the Zambian government but to the International Aviation Authority, and that the government could have been held accountable if it was established that structures were built on illegal land.
International property, because if, for example, you have a plane flying over the DRC, maybe headed to South Africa, and they get into trouble mid-air, they may need to have an emergency landing. And international aviation will show them that there's an airstrip in Chingola that they could safely land and take care of their problems. Now, in the event of an aviation accident, you will find that what will happen on the ground, the kind of casualties we shall record, both from the plane and on the ground, would be immense.
The director spokesperson has since sympathized with the affected families and says government through DMMU is currently in the district to help relocate the families to a suitable place and provide them with temporary shelter.
We must be quick and hasten to state that we do not have laws that allow for compensation in cases such as this. The law does not compensate illegality. But however, on humanitarian grounds, the DMMU will look at the numbers involved and see who needs what help. And that help can be rendered as a mitigating factor as the people cross over to the other side.
Mr. Kawana has since promised that those who will be found wanting in allocating the said land will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Former Kavushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN LUSAMBO has submitted before the Lusaka High Court that contrary to allegations by ZAMTEL that he failed to pay rentals for a house in Ndola, Copperbelt Province, he is entitled to a refund for renovating it. This is in a case in which ZAMTEL has sued Mr. LUSAMBO in court for being a problematic tenant by failing to pay rentals for a house in Ndola. However, in his affidavit in support or a notice of motion, Mr. LUSAMBO tells the High Court that he renovated the house at a total cost of over 2 million kwacha.
He has continued to advance his defense before the Lusaka High Court in a lawsuit that ZAMTEL has sued him demanding payment of 590,000 kwacha as rentals arrears for a house in Ndola. The former Kavushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN LUSAMBO is claiming for a refund of 2,050,327 kwacha, 18 ngwe, monies he spent in renovating the said house. Has he agreed with ZAMTEL that the cost of renovation would be offset any accrued rental arrears? The former lawmaker Mr. LUSAMBO has been accused by ZAMTEL in its lawsuit that Mr. LUSAMBO had become a problematic tenant, and it is for that fact that they did not want him to continue being the tenant in their apartment. Some of the reasons advanced by ZAMTEL was that on the 1st of December 2016, it entered into an agreement with Mr. LUSAMBO. He will be paying monthly rentals in the sum of 10,000 kwacha inclusive of withholding tax, but on the 29th of January 2018, he requested that the house be sold to him on account that he had invested personal money in renovating it and that his family had become emotionally attached to it. ZAMTEL had also alleged that from the time Mr. LUSAMBO occupied the house, he had never paid any rent despite all effort it made to collect rentals from him. However, in his latest submission before court, the former lawmaker says he orally agreed with ZAMTEL through its chief executive officer that he would proceed to renovate the property using his own funds, which would be deductible from his monthly rentals, and that the monies he has spent on rehabilitating the said property amounts to over 2 million kwacha, and that instead of ZAMTEL claiming the said alleged 590,000 kwacha, he also wants a refund. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Anti-Corruption Commission has asked the Lusaka High Court to allow it to join proceedings in the case in which Patriotic Front Pambashe Constituency Member of Parliament Ronald Chitotela has been sued by Azadi Investment Limited. In this case, Azadi Investment Limited has dragged Mr. Chitotela to court, demanding payment of 6.5 million kwacha, being the balance for the construction of a house worth 9.6 million kwacha in Chongwe. According to the affidavit reply filed, the Anti-Corruption Commission has its interest to join the case comes in relation to the said property that Mr. Chitotela owes, as it is believed to be acquired through process of crime.
The Anti-Corruption Commission awaits the Lusaka High Court's decision on whether the Commission will be allowed to be joined to the proceedings that Azadi Investment Limited has sued Patriotic Front Pambashe Constituency Member of Parliament Ronald Chitotela, demanding payment of 6.5 million kwacha, being the balance of the construction of his house worth over 9.6 million in Chongwe area. In an affidavit filed, ACC Investigations Officer Gift Tembo tells court that ACC's interest in the case emanates from Azadi Investment Limited claim, which refer to the sale of the property belonging to Mr. Chitotela. ACC has also submitted that the case is in a gross abuse of the court process aimed at legitimately Mr. Chitotela holding on property, which is reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. Mr. Chitotela denied having acquired the property through corrupt means, saying he entered into a contract to buy the property in question as bare land in 2017 at a cost of 1 million kwacha. He had also submitted that he entered into an agreement with Azadi Investment Limited to build the said house. Recently, the Lusaka's Magistrate Court stayed ACC's seizure of the said property pending hearing of Mr. Chitotela's application to set aside the warrant of seizure. ACC, in its statement, alleged that the seized property was acquired by Mr. Chitotela using suspected proceeds of crime and was in fact registered in the names of a certain Lusaka businessman. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Alpha Commodities Limited, a Zambian domiciled and owned agri-import supply company, has bemoaned delayed justice in an over $1 million United States fertilizer stock theft which occurred in 2018. Alpha has sued the Attorney General representing Zambia Police as a second defendant and Nyombo Investment Limited and David Katepa as third defendant in the High Court. According to company spokesperson Jolif Nyerenda, the matter involves the disappearance of 30,434 bags of 50 kilograms of urea fertilizer and 396 bags of 50 kilogram bags of compound D fertilizer worth an estimated $1,904,300 United States dollars, which was stored at Alpha Warehouse in Ndola. The matter has in the last 4 years been allocated to 3 different judges but has yet to be heard after. Written appeals to the Chief Justice to intervene in the matter have yielded nothing. Mr. Nyerenda says that the business for his firm had been impacted negatively due to the delayed proceedings. Let's look at this.
They go to a warehouse. They seized that stock through the police, and the keys were taken by them. Unfortunately, a few days later, that stock started moving out of our warehouse, and I was tipped to go there with our lawyer. When I went there, unfortunately, the stock was moving out of our warehouse, going somewhere else, where I didn't know. But we were somehow manhandled, where we were driven out of that place, and that's how we left the place. Eventually, we realized that everything that was there was taken. From there, we reported the issue to the police, but of course they didn't do anything because they are the ones that were handling the same. And we decided to take the issue to court. That was in 2018. That case has been in the courts from 2018 till now. Of course, there's been some changes in terms of the judges handling it. 3 judges have handled the same case. And so what we are worried of is that as a company, of course, there has been a loss. You can imagine 3-4 years without getting the money. It means the capital is gone.
24 illegally acquired motor vehicles valued at 21,868,419 kwacha have been forfeited to the state. This follows a joint investigations team comprising of officers from the Zambia Police Service, the Anti-Corruption Commission and the Drug Enforcement Commission conducting investigations on a number of illegally acquired assets. Zambia Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says the motor vehicles that were seized have now been forfeited to the state following the expiry of a 3-month period and failure by owners to claim them.
These vehicles have now become state property following the failure by the owners to claim them. The joint investigations team, comprising of officers from the Zambia Police Service, Anti-Corruption Commission and the Drug Enforcement Commission, conducted investigations on a number of illegally acquired assets, out of which a total number of 24 motor vehicles valued at 21,869,419 kwacha were seized and published in Government Gazette number 604 of 2022. According to Zambia Police spokesperson Ray Amonga, the 24 motor vehicles have now been forfeited to the state following the expiry of a 3-month period and failure by owners to claim them.
The Joint Investigations Team, comprised of the Zambia Police Service, Drug Enforcement Commission and Anti-Corruption Commission, have been investigating crimes relating to people who have accrued assets illegally. And we have so far seized 24 motor vehicles that are right behind me here. These vehicles have a total value of 21,869,419 kwacha. These vehicles have been seized following a Gazette notice number 604 of 2022, in which members of the public that were the owners of these motor vehicles were given a period to claim them. Upon the expiry of the 3-month period that was given, none of them has come forward, and these motor vehicles have since been forfeited to the state. The various motor vehicles that are here include the Land Cruiser that is right behind me here, and the Hilux. We have other motor vehicles that are around here, which have been seized and forfeited to the state.
However, one wonders why the owners of the said vehicles could not retrieve them. Would that be an admission of guilty? For now, we wait and see the next course of action by the law enforcement wings. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
You're watching Camnet News. Just now we take a break. Still to come are more interesting stories. Stay with us.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts. This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Our dear Camnet family, on the 22nd of August at 20:30 hours, I'm hosting Honorable Garen Kombo, the Minister of Local Government.
The agenda is not an overnight sensation. It has never been. And we are just praying that the Zambian people are going to hold our hands to find solutions together rather than by our own selves. And part of what requires to happen is for people to be patient.
Join me on national matters. Should you have a question to ask in advance, forward it to 0962 965 883. I am your host, Kasa Chiluba. God bless Zambia.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
The First League season is here. It brings new teams and players on the scene. Among the new entrants on the block are the amazing Born for Greatness, Camnet Stars Football Club, Camnet Stars will this Sunday, 28th August 2022, face the Super Eagles at Margaret Monakatwe Ground in Bauleni. Time 15 hours. Remember, this Sunday, make it a point to come, watch and support Camnet Stars Football Club, the champions of today and tomorrow. Camnet Stars, popularly known as the local national team, a team born for greatness. See you there.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. You're still watching Camnet News. The Biomedical Union of Zambia has backed calls by the Minister of Health, Sylvia Masevo, for sanity to be restored to health fraternities through ensuring that professionalism is reinstated across the sector. In an interview, Union President Daniel Mwimbe says restoring sanity will entail conducting a thorough audit to see to it that all managerial positions are occupied by well personnel. He notes that the trend over the years has been that medical doctors are automatically allowed to occupy managerial positions, despite some of them not having taken any administrative courses. Mr. Mwimbe notes that the consequence of this has been that the plight of other health workers has often been left out of those in managerial positions are medical doctors who only understand the plight of doctors. The unionist adds that this has also a service gap in many areas, a need of medical doctors, as these most of them work to clinical officers, stating that they are in management.
The system needs to change. If you look at the continental, you look at global, all of them are going into that area because they have seen that the lane they took where they felt that the medical doctor should manage every system has failed them. And it is the only way that we can have systems performing. Right now the systems are in terrible state, and we cannot shy away to say the cause, most of the people that have caused this is the medical doctors, because they have been at the helm of this system for a long time. But what has been there is the poor performance. So for us, we are saying, let people that are qualified be appointed. If you are qualified as a medical doctor, you have managerial skills, you have been trained as a manager, you can be appointed. We are going to be satisfied. But if you are going to be an intern, you come from an intern, you want to be a director, and you are appointed as director at district level, provincial, or at national level, that does not satisfy anyone. At the end of the day, we are simply killing the system that is supposed to save the people.
The Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia says the passing of the Emoluments Commission bill into law will create equal work and equal pay across parastatal companies. In an interview, Union General Secretary Makai says there have been discrepancies across parastatal companies, with many workers being placed on different salary scales despite holding same qualifications for the same job. The Emoluments Commission Act was recently passed into law following presidential assent, meaning that salaries at parastatal companies will have to first be approved by the Commission before being effected.
Workers from some parastatal companies in Zambia have for a long time continued drawing huge salaries for the same field of work and qualifications in comparison to those at similar companies. The Emoluments Commission Act No. 1 of 2022, which was recently passed into law following presidential assent, will however level the playing field, as no parastatal company will be able to make changes to their salaries without the approval of the Commission. Stakeholders have weighed in on the passing of this law, among them the Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia, SAWUZ, who feel the law should be applied fairly to motivate workers, unlike targeting at bringing down those with high salaries. SAWUZ General Secretary Makai said this to Camnet News.
So the Emoluments Commission will be able to level the playing field. However, our observation is that when you look at it from the outside, you think that the Emoluments Commission has come to bring down those who are in the high brackets or those who are highly paid. But if that is the intention, then it's a wrong intention. From us as a union, what especially we want to see is a situation where those who are highly paid, they should be maintained where they are, because even the way they spend is in line with the income they have. But those who are lowly paid should be uplifted. That one will help.
Meanwhile, in a separate interview, Alliance for Community Action SCS Senior Information and Advocacy Officer Jimmy Maliseni has also given his view.
What that essentially means when I say double-edged sword, it also means that the emoluments could, in a way, potentially increase for certain levels. How that will happen is because of the market reviews and competitive reviews that will happen. It would mean that the Commission would have to look broader beyond the state's institutions themselves.
While many stakeholders are expectant that this law will lead to many salaries being reduced, the duo say there is need to ensure that the changes are in line with prevailing economic situations. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Some teachers with disabilities and those that studied special education were left out of the 10% of the 2022 teacher recruitment have Monday, 22nd of August 2022, staged a protest at State House. In an interview with Camnet News, Ronnie Kambewe says it is not fair that out of the 10% allocation of teachers with disabilities and those that studied special education, only 40 against a vacancy of 10% of the 30,494, which is 3,049 teachers were recruited. The protesters have demanded intervention from the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, stating that they should be considered and added to the list of recruited teachers.
30,000, it's 3,000. Now, 3,000, out of 3,000, only 196. It's just like a drop in the ocean, just a cup of water dropping in the ocean. You see, we've been writing letters to the Ministry of Education. We've been following these matters to TSC, of which nothing has been come out.
Teachers with disabilities and those that studied special education and were left out of the 2022 teacher recruitment have 22nd August 2022 protested at State House. The teachers say despite the transparency exhibited during the process of recruitment, the 10% allocation meant for the teachers with disabilities and qualified teachers of special education were not met. July 15, 2022, Zambia's Minister of Education, Douglas Yakalima, announced that 30,496 teachers were recruited and their names were published across credible print and electronic media. The protesters wonder why they were left out despite them having the right qualifications.
Let them fulfill what they've said, because Madam Delphine Chimuka said on the news to say she's going to consider all those who've been left out, teachers living with disability and those who did special education. So all what we want is that let them fulfill what they've said and our 10% to be allocated to us again. And Mr. President, to hear us, please, while his children, let him see us through.
The 30,496 teachers recruited were 2,056 for early child education, 25,736 were assigned to primary education, and 2,694 were posted to secondary schools across the country, adding that 196 were teachers with disabilities. They have called on the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema to argue their case.
To let you know, I think we have started this journey since the 5th July. We've tried to follow Teaching Service Commission, but they are not doing anything at all. And to our matter, the church is not saying anything at all. Even the Red Commission is not saying anything at all. And almost each and every time when we go to teaching service, people are just telling you to say that no, just wait, we are still working on your matter.
It doesn't cater for 3,000 that were supposed to be allocated to us, the persons with disabilities. So, and those, because the Disability Act of 2012, gives us that provision that 10% should be allocated to persons with disabilities, and the surplus, if there's a remainder, you put special education teachers, because we have got a deficit in these schools. We don't have special education teachers.
Special Education Teachers Union of Zambia did, on July 18, 2022, express dismay by the deliberate omission of persons with disabilities and special education teachers in this year's NET teachers recruitment. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Christian Churches Monitoring Group, CCMG, has called on government agencies such as the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit to suspend all activities of service to the Zambian people in areas whereby elections are taking place. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has prescribed Thursday, 15 September 2022, as a date on which to hold the Luangwa Council Chairperson by-election in Luangwa District of Lusaka Province, Kabushi and Kwacha Parliamentary by-elections in Ndola and Kitwe districts of Copperbelt Province. CCMG Steering Committee member Father Emmanuel Chikoya notes that DMMU was in the past seen to be active in areas having by-elections, thereby creating an uneven political environment. And Father Chikoya adds that it is expected that all civil servants remain politically neutral. You're watching Camnet News. We take our second set of commercials. When we return, we have sports and international news. Stay with us.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts.
This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Our dear Camnet family, on the 22nd of August at 20:30 hours, I'm hosting Honorable Gary Nkombo, the Minister of Local Government.
The agenda is not an overnight sensation. It has never been. And we are just praying that the Zambian people are going to hold our hands to find solutions together rather than by our own selves. And part of what requires to happen is for people to be patient.
Join me on national matters. Should you have a question to ask in advance, forward it to 0962 965 883. I am your host, Pastor Chiluba. God bless Zambia.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Organization or an individual with a dream to register your presence in Zambia and around the world. Waste no time, because Camnet Television is offering an opportunity to sponsor any of the following programs. The main news, national matters, breakfast show, the verdict, partnership of greatness, economic briefcase, business and sports news. For more details, call following numbers. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. In international news, people in the streets of the township of Vienna, one of the areas in and around Luanda, say there is no need to vote come Wednesday, August 24th, as they see no change and continue to have no jobs. The Land Bank election, with more than 14 million registered voters, has been described as an essential moment for the key oil-rich Central African state. Let's look at this.
Angolans are set to go to the polls on Wednesday, August 24, for legislative elections that will decide the next president. But in this vast country of 33 million people, much of the population is turning away from politics. Most people in Angola do not work, and this has destroyed the reputation of this government. There is no political intention to develop this nation. We are not satisfied or happy with the government's actions. We expect them to do more. With an oil-dependent economy in recession, current President João Lourenço has launched ambitious reforms to diversify revenue sources and privatize public enterprises. But little has changed for the majority of Angolans. We don't have any family that can help us. Even after university, we end up selling things on the informal market. We are paying school fees. After school, our children have nowhere to go. They stay at home. I have no one to vote for, because even if I do, no one will help my son in life. 8 political parties are in the running, including the 2 main ones, the MPLA, the party in power since independence in 1975, and the largest opposition party, UNITA. Kenya's presidential candidate Raila Odinga has filed an electronic copy of his challenge against the results of this month's election. The physical filing was also done on Monday in the capital, Nairobi, according to a lawyer for his coalition. The Supreme Court has 14 days from the date of the filing to hear the petition and give a verdict. Last week, the Electoral Commission Chief, Wafula Chebukati, declared Deputy President William Ruto the winner of the election by a slim margin. But 4 out of the 7 election commissioners dissented, saying the tallying of results had not been transparent. This is Odinga's 5th stab at the presidency. He has blamed several previous losses on rigging. In 2017, the Supreme Court overturned the election results and ordered a rerun, which Odinga, a veteran presidential candidate, boycotted, saying he had no faith in the Electoral Commission. This time, Odinga is backed by the political establishment. President Uhuru Kenyatta endorsed him after falling out with his deputy, William Ruto, after the last election. The election in East Africa's wealthiest and most stable nation is seen as a democratic barometer for the rest of the region.
The announcement of the official visit of the French President Emmanuel Macron Thursday was generally well received by the inhabitants of Algiers, although the wounds of the war are still fresh 60 years later.
In
2017, before he became president, he said good things. He had made his visit, and just after he came back to France, it changed. He had a different speech. Let's hope that today's France will understand that Algeria is politically, economically, militarily, and financially independent. Memories of violence during the colonial period continue to overshadow ties between the two countries. French-Algerian ties hit a low late last year after Macron reportedly questioned whether Algeria had existed as a nation before the French invasion. Personally, I would like France to apologize for what happened. What we saw, what history was told, it's blatant, it's clear. We live at a time when everyone sees their own interests. France has interests with us, and for us it's the same. But our problem is not about these interests. The problem is that our archives are still in France and we have no news about them. They rightfully belong to the matters of the war. The discussions should not only be about protocols and trade. The presidency says the trip will contribute to deepening the bilateral relationship looking to the future. The North African country won its independence from France following the grueling 8-year war, which ended with the signing in March 1962 of the Evian Accords.
Let's now look at sports news. A Zambian chess player, Timothy Kawe, says the private sector plays an important role in supporting different sporting disciplines. In an interview with Camnet Sports, Kawe notes that the various contributions that come from the private sector go a long way in facilitating the sports activities. Kawe spoke during a donation of kits from Jazz Garments that will help the club in one way or the other. Meanwhile, Jazz Garments Chief Executive Officer Simpson says it is encouraging to see that the growth of chess in this country is evident.
From a social perspective, sports play an important role in nation building, increasing social cohesion, preventing violence, as well as building peace and unifying a people, especially the youth. Sports is cited as a powerful means of engaging children and developing their personal and social development that helps them achieve their full potential. The private sector plays a huge role in the facilitation of different sports disciplines. A Zambian chess player, Timothy Kawe, says the private sector plays an important role in supporting sports across the country. Kawe disclosed this while he's receiving sports kits from Jazz Garments.
You may think it's a small way, but it's actually a very big way, and as Zambian chess players, we feel highly motivated and highly encouraged by your gesture. So on behalf of my colleagues, we're grateful, and we encourage you not to stop at this. We encourage you to continue, as this will even motivate us more.
And Ministry of Youth, Sports and Art Assistant Director Mebo Bene also had her view.
I think is very passionate about youth empowerment and creating opportunities for young people. So that is definitely a positive move, and I'm happy to hear that. I'm also excited that you are committed to the game of chess. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that, and also very happy to hear that you will be happy to support chess whenever you are able to, and that's really good. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the gifts that you bring before us.
Meanwhile, Jazz Garments Chief Executive Officer says the private sector will continue supplementing government's efforts even through sports.
Tell you, I don't know, for you, maybe you may like the other countries. You may not, like the potential which you have. You know? I found it better, a safe and a nice place to live. You know, I used to tell my friends there, I want to buy at least.
Blessings Chakwila, Camnet Sports, Lusaka.
That's where we leave it for tonight. The headlines once again. MULUNGUSHI University students ask President Hakainde Hichilema to finance their education using his salary. BOWMAN LUSAMBO demands a refund from ZAMTEL for renovating its house. 24 vehicles forfeited to the state as owners abandon them. In international news, Angola voters despondent in a run-up to general election. And in sports news, the private sector held for supporting sports in Zambia. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day. It's coming from Romans 8:32, and it reads, "He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also, along with him, give us all things?" Thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. My name is Sharon Kanimbula. Good night.